I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to FinextraTV. Kindly calling into our virtual studio now is Jouk Pleiter, CEO of Backbase. So Jouk, thank you very much for calling in.
Hello, Anna. Nice to meet you. Good to be here.
It's good to have you on. So yes, today we're reflecting on the last few years where we've seen substantial initiatives from banks looking to digitise their operations to meet the changing demands of their customers. And while there are plenty of success stories, many still struggle to consistently meet customer expectations. So what's the issue here and what challenges are still left to overcome so banks can deliver the kind of experience their customers expect, and also what can be done? So by no means a small question, but let's start there.
Yeah, so if we look at the challenge, Hannah, I think the number one challenge is kind of the strategic perspective banking executives takes on this whole digital transformation matter. And I think it comes down to the choice between, is there a long-term view or is there a short-term view? And I think the lesser successful ones have a short-term view where they do digital on the side. It's a piecemeal approach. They renovate some parts of the bank. They kind of duct tape a few of the outdated solutions, but there's no larger strategic view on how to fully embrace digital in the core of their business operating. And if you take that longer term view, you see those people really take like a 5-year view where they fundamentally say that we need to take a platform approach. Digital is going to be at the core of what we do, not on the side, but it's going to be in the core. And we basically have to rethink every customer journey, every customer interaction. And in order to do so, we need to have a universal technology platform to really empower our customers and our employees on the same platform. But we also need to have access to the right talent. We need to kind of make sure that we're building the right engineering culture. So I really think do not underestimate digital transformation. If it's a short-term view, it's piecemeal, you probably will get that. If you take a longer-term view, you really strategically transform the bank to stay competitive for another decade.
All right, so that's interesting. So what can banks learn from these platform players such as the Amazon, Uber, Netflix? And do you think this unified platform approach really is the only way to achieve the engagement banking? And also, is it really necessary going forward? What about that?
Yeah, so let's first look at kind of these platform players. I think they make a very fundamental choice to own the customer engagement layer, right? And by owning the customer engagement layer, they get a lot of, let's say, platform power because all these customer interactions are with them and they can then control the supply chain. And by owning the customer experience, they basically can create the marketplace and they orchestrate value. And out of owning the customer engagement layer and having that unique orchestration position in the market, they can really optimize their growth, their revenue, and their margin. So I think for banks, really, it's fundamentally, do you need to own the customer experience layer? Do you want to play there? If not, you probably will become some sort of either irrelevant because customers don't see you, or you become a faceless back office function that is providing some financial services products to someone else who's owning the customer engagement layer. So I think fundamentally I think there is a lot of proof points out there that I think it's an extremely strategic question, like can I and do I own the engagement layer? And if so, what do I need to do to fundamentally compete in that operating model?
Mm-hmm. And what's becoming even more apparent is the importance of culture. So let's talk a bit about that. What about banks' culture and their employees? Perhaps banks need to service not only their customers, but also their employees. So what are your thoughts?
Well, there's a couple of ideas. Let's start with employees. I really think employees should be empowered by the same platform that is also delighting their end customers. So it's a very simple but very powerful idea is that let's go for a single engagement platform that can drive the customer interactions, but also the employees and enable the employees to kind of provide the human assist where needed, but they are working on one and the same platform. So there's a lot of reuse and synergy, but there's also a seamless transition from the customer-driven journey to the human assist, and you basically collaborate. And I would say in the traditional IT landscape of many banks, that is absolutely not possible because the teller application is a different generation of technology. The call center is different, online is different, mobile is different. So there's a lot of fragmentation with decades of legacy siloed applications that basically are not designed to operate in this whole platform economy. So I think if you look at the current landscape, all that fragmentation and also the fact that customers and employees are in different zones basically will not be sustainable. So as a result of that, I think banks really have to go for a single engagement banking platform that will empower both their customers and their employees on one and the same footprint. And you kind of get that seamless collaboration. But You also get a lot of cost synergies because you can basically deprecate dozens of legacy point solutions that are basically irrelevant to compete into the future. So I think that's the employee perspective. The culture perspective is if you want to kind of, and you are forced to kind of play this platform game, there is a fundamental new DNA needed for the bank to really stay relevant. So it's all about how do we capture the right talent, digital talent, DevOps talent, mobile engineering talent. How do we really kind of build that talent? And how do we build an engineering culture? I would say very similar like software companies or Silicon Valley companies, as we know, where they really utilize technology in the core of their business. And there's a certain culture to innovate fast, to fail, to learn, to progress. And I think that those elements are probably very important in the overall mix for banking executives to consider. So there's this war for talent, and there's kind of the culture element that you either build in-house, or you can also partner with companies like Backbase that not only provide the technology, but also to a large degree the talent and the DNA to really help you to kind of make a win-win partnership to fight back and effectively compete in this engagement layer.
Of course, the power of partnerships, and some very good advice weaved in there as well. So I'd like to summarize your insights then and talk about where you see the future going and the future of banking. How do you think it will be defined then? The crystal ball question.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think for and foremost, everything will move into platforms. I think platforms are orchestrating pretty much every part of our life. Look at food delivery, look at music, entertainment, Netflix, Disney, all these different aspects. So I think it's a safe bet to make to say that also how to manage your money as a student, as a family with children, as a small business owner, help me with my daily financial life. And I think platforms will play a crucial role. And there's a role for big tech, for fintech, and as well for the incumbent banks to really fight back. I think retail banking probably is most vulnerable. I would say the traditional retail banking model. So I think there the urgency and the threat is very high because like mobile wallets, like the Apple wallet, the Google wallet, they really can easily become the center of your financial life if they would play there. And there's very clear signals they are playing there more and more. So I really think it's for retail banking the most urgent situation. I would say code orange, maybe already code red, to really fight back and provide an alternative super app type of model where you genuinely say, it's not about banking, it's about helping people to make progress in their life. And that's what these platforms do. So forget about the product push, forget about banking, but turn it around and take a customer-centric view and say, with this financial brand, we're going to help you to improve your daily life as a small business owner, as parents with children, right? The classic function of the bank, decades ago, helping you to make progress in life and do that in a digital way. So I think that's pretty sure about to happen. But then also on the small business bank and into corporate banking, the amount of siloed application and the cost of the operating model, they are so expensive that I fundamentally believe that embracing digital platforms to fundamentally, I would say, reduce, maybe even half the operating costs. So to really have a lean digital first operating model will be essential for pretty much every line of business in banking. So it's going to be very interesting. I think this era, this 5 to 10 years, is going to be a very defining moment for this industry, and I'm quite excited to be part of that journey.
Indeed, watch this space. Well, it's really interesting to talk about this and some exciting developments ahead then, but we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thanks again.